Has the government figured out how to build a storm into a superstorm that will destroy everything in its path, and then how to aim it right for where they want to aim it?
Are they? Who are the they you are referring to? Exactly. Democrats? Jewish space lasers?
Imagine a world where politicians blame immigrants for slow disaster response. Well, guess what? We're living in it. Trump's running mate just did exactly that. But here's the kicker. FEMA says that's not true at all. Want to know what's really going on? You might think you've heard it all when it comes to hurricane conspiracies, but trust me, you haven't. What if I told you that some folks in power believe these storms are man-made weapons? It sounds like science fiction, but for some politicians, it's dead serious.
Promoting a bizarre conspiracy theory about a mysterious they, you can imagine who that is, controlling the weather.
Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene for a second. This congresswoman just dropped a bombshell claim that's got everyone talking. She's saying that the government is using weather as a weapon to interfere with elections. Yeah, you heard that right. According to her, someone's out there playing Zeus with our weather patterns. Stephen Colbert didn't hold back when he heard this. He straight up told Greene, "You should be ashamed of yourself." And honestly, he's got a point. Throwing around accusations like that during a natural disaster is pretty wild.
Greene went right back to work on Twitter, tweeting the following, which I swear is 100% real.
Has the government figured out how to build a storm into a superstorm that will destroy everything in its path, and then how to aim it right for where they want to aim it?
But here's the thing, this isn't just some random theory floating around the internet. It's spreading through right-wing media like wildfire.
And it's not just her, she's now being amplified by right-wing media and the Republican nominee himself.
Even Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, is getting in on the action. He's out there suggesting that the government might be manipulating the weather. That's a big claim from someone who could be second in command of our country. Now, let's get real for a second. Hurricanes aren't some government plot. They're massive, complex weather systems that form naturally. We're talking about warm ocean water, low pressure, and the right wind conditions coming together to create these monster storms. It's not a button someone pushes in a secret lab.
Yes, they control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it can't be done.
And you know what's really behind the increase in intense hurricanes? Climate change. As our planet heats up, we're seeing more powerful storms more often. That's not a conspiracy, it's science. So next time someone tries to tell you that hurricanes are part of some grand government scheme, hit them with the facts. Warm water, plus low pressure, plus the right winds, like hurricane. No secret weather control machine needed. But here's why this matters beyond just winning an argument. When people buy into these wild theories, it can have real consequences. They might not take warnings seriously. They might not evacuate when they should. And in a hurricane, that could be life or death.
Are they? Who are the they you are referring to? Exactly. Democrats? Jewish space lasers?
That's why it's so important to shut down these conspiracy theories fast. We need people focused on staying safe, not worrying about imaginary weather machines. Now let's switch gears from weather machines to cold, hard cash. There's a rumor flying around about FEMA funds that's causing more chaos than a Category 5 hurricane. Is the government really stealing from disaster victims? Let's break it down. You won't believe what Trump's been saying about FEMA's disaster relief money. He's out here claiming that Vice President Kamala Harris blew all of FEMA's cash on housing for undocumented migrants. Yeah, you heard that right. He's saying the money meant for hurricane victims is gone. Poof, just like that.
Which is there for disaster relief for American citizens after a terrible storm, being deployed repeatedly to deal with Kamala Harris's wide open border.
But here's the thing, it's not true, not even close. FEMA and the White House came out swinging, setting the record straight. They're saying, hold up, that's not how this works. The disaster relief funds, they're in a completely separate pot from other programs. That $650 million for migrant housing, it didn't come from FEMA's disaster stash. It's like saying you spent your grocery money on new shoes when you actually used your clothing budget. Trump didn't stop there though. He went full Hollywood crime drama on us, claiming $1 billion was stolen from FEMA for migrants. But guess what? That money's right where it's supposed to be, ready to help folks hit by the hurricane. It's like accusing your roommate of stealing your pizza when it's sitting right there in the fridge. Now let's talk about that $750 initial aid package from FEMA. Trump's out here calling it an insult to hurricane victims. But that's not the whole story. That $750, it's just the starting point. like the first aid kit before the ambulance arrives. It's for those urgent needs right after disaster strikes, not the total package of federal help. Stephen Colbert had a field day with all this. He called out the ridiculousness of it all, saying the disaster relief fund is completely separate from other programs. It's like Trump's playing a game of Monopoly where he's making up his own rules as he goes along. This whole situation is what Colbert called a masterclass in hyperbole. It's like Trump's writing a script for a cheesy disaster movie where facts don't matter and the drama is cranked up to 11. But here's the problem. This isn't a movie. It's real life with real people facing a real disaster. So why does all this matter? Because when big shots start throwing around fake claims during a crisis, it can mess things up for the people who really need help. Imagine you're in the path of a hurricane, trying to figure out if you should evacuate or not. Then you hear the former president saying FEMA's broke and can't help. That could make you think twice about leaving, even if it's not safe to stay. Turns out the drama isn't just in the White House, it's in the eye of the storm itself. While Trump's spinning tales of neglect, the folks actually dealing with the hurricane have a whole different story. Ready to see who's really weathering this political storm? You know how in movies, the hero always saves the day while everyone else stands around helpless? Well, in Trump's version of Hurricane Idalia, that's exactly what's happening. He's painting this picture of the Biden administration dropping the ball, leaving hurricane victims high and dry. But hold up, the real heroes of this story are telling a totally different tale. Local officials, the ones actually on the ground dealing with the aftermath, are giving the federal response 2 thumbs up. And get this, it's not just Democrats singing their praises, even Republican leaders are impressed. It's like watching a sports game where both teams' fans are cheering for the referee. That never happens. South Carolina's Republican Governor Henry McMaster called the federal response superb. That's not just good, that's like getting an A+ on a test you thought you bombed. It's a total smackdown to Trump's claims that the Biden-Harris team is leaving Republican areas out in the rain. But wait, there's more. It's not just one Republican breaking ranks. Officials from both parties are giving props to the feds for their hurricane response. It's like watching a political unicorn. Democrats and Republicans agreeing on something. Who would have thought? Now let's talk about that $750 initial aid from FEMA that Trump's been ragging on. He's acting like that's all the government's giving out, period. But that's like saying the appetizer is the whole meal. That's $750. It's just to cover immediate needs, like a quick bite to eat or a place to crash for the night. It's not meant to rebuild your whole house or replace everything you lost. Think of it like this. You're stranded on the side of the road with a flat tire. FEMA's $750 is like that emergency spare tire. It's not meant to replace your regular tire permanently, but it'll get you to the repair shop. The real help, the full-size tire if you will, comes later. So why does all this matter? Because when disaster strikes, we need to know who's got our back. And right now, it looks like the federal government is stepping up to the plate no matter what political jersey you're wearing. It's not about red states or blue states. It's about Americans helping Americans. But here's the kicker. How do you know who to believe when the stories are so different? Here's a pro tip. Go straight to the source. Check out what your local officials are saying, not just what's making headlines. They're the ones on the ground seeing the response firsthand. And if both Democrats and Republicans are giving the same thumbs up, that's when you know it's the real deal.